Special guest today is Osuany Serrano, and she is actually a second-time home buyer, under 30 years old, only in her 20s, already owning two homes. So we're really excited to hear her story. Everyone who's tuning in, get your questions ready. If you have any questions for Osuany, you can put them in the comments. You can also message them to us separately if you want. Osuany will be tagged here. You can check her out, connect with her if you have follow-up questions after hearing her story. So we'll get started. All right. So Osuany, you bought your second house in April, just in April of 2023. So just beginning of last year in Philadelphia. When did you buy your first home in New Jersey?
So my first house, I bought it when October 2022.
Okay. So a
Yes.
little, all right. So you had 2022 first home, beginning of 2023, bought your second home, and now what are you doing? What did you do with that first home in New Jersey?
I rented it out to a family. So I have a lease on that house, and that's covering the mortgage for the Jersey house.
Very
So,
nice. Very nice. And now your second home in Philly. You're making some changes to it, but that's where you'll live because it's closer to your work, right?
yes, it's
Closer to your
I don't have to pay the toll. It's not a huge difference, but tolls every day kind of add up. So it just made sense to move into the new home so that it would be a lot less once you add it up monthly. I was paying a lot in tolls.
Yeah, and it's a hassle to commute. But we don't. Yeah,
Yes,
too
yes.
much driving. Too much driving. All right, so that's maybe one of your favorite parts of the new house. But what else do you really love about your new house?
I would say that it's a lot bigger than my other house. So eventually, I plan on trying to split it into two smaller house. So right now, it's a four-bedroom house, um, meaning four bedrooms and then four rooms in the first floor. So I want to split it into two, pretty much two-bedroom houses, one in front, one in the back, because it's a corner house, so it has a lot of access to it.
Nice, nice. Okay, now even the first time you bought your house, and even this time, how did you go about finding a realtor to work with, or did you just kind of get started on the process your own, like looking at homes? What was the initial first step like?
So my mother is a realtor in Pennsylvania, Philly area, and but unfortunately, I didn't really like Philadelphia, and I wanted to my first home to be in Jersey. Previously to looking, I had a friend who was looking for a house in Burlington, New Jersey, and I was helping him look, him and his wife. I would send him over houses that I thought were in their price range that looked good, just for fun, just to be a good friend. But I had bookmarked some of them that I really liked personally, and I surprised by the area. It was really good school district, right by the water, which I loved.
Mm.
And so after the fact, he found a house. He bought his own house, and we. I was told that I needed to have 2 years of employment to be able to apply for a loan and all this information, which we both know there's a lot of false information out there about what you need. So I thought I had to wait a lot longer. But then my mom had just refinanced her house, and they told me, oh, you can apply and see what they'll give you. And I have recently gotten a new job, which paid a lot better than my old job. So I was like, why not? Let's take the chance. I can afford a mortgage right now. It's near my job, like it's a good location. So I started the pre approval process with her lender who had just refinanced the house for them. And I got approved. I got approved for actually more than the worth of my house in Jersey. So, but I put a limit because I knew I didn't want to pay that much for a mortgage. So I was looking in the price range that I wanted to pay a mortgage, because a lot of the times they'll tell you, oh, you got approved for a $300,000 house, $350,000 house, but you have to take into consideration what your mortgage is going to be, because yeah, you can get this beautiful big house and then you're just paying like all this money to keep it, where if you get an affordable house, still nice, to something nice to have, you have your own place, but it's not as big or it's not as luxurious,
Right.
then you get to have that
I'll just sort of
extra
swap
money
myself out
that
and say,
you're not paying towards your mortgage. You get to live with that money. So
yes.
I
So
started looking.
instead of focusing on the price of the house, what did you focus on instead?
I focused on the mortgage payment that I wanted to pay. So when you get pre-approved, they tell you this is about the rate that's going on in the market. Like at the time, it was way better than it is now. So I got to be a little bit luckier, and so I started looking, and I knew from my parents, like, if you get a house that's valued at around 250K or lower, the max you'll be paying for your monthly mortgage, obviously depending on taxes, but I wasn't looking anything above $5,000 a year.
Mm,
So I did the calculations by myself essentially, and then I was like, okay, this is the house that I want. My mom's real estate group at the time had a lady in Jersey, so she started showing me houses. But really, I was what they called an A client, because I already knew what I wanted. How
I love it.
I told her, she showed me three houses the first day we went to look. The first one was the one that I shared with her that I wanted to go look at. The other two were ones that she found based on my ass, or
Yeah,
my necessities, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
And I went with the first one I looked at. I knew, yeah, I knew it was a good price. Actually, I bidded under what they were asking, because you never want to bid what they're asking, because it's a negotiation. So I bid it under by like 20K, and then we started the negotiation, and then we got to the price of agreement. And in under a month, probably less, then we were signing the papers, and it was a done deal. It was
Nice.
very fast, very. I looked at the house. I looked at three houses my first day. I bid it on the first one. I told her, put an offer in, because it had been on the market for 3 months already. So I kind of already knew, like, they were ready to close fast on the house. Um, so I bid it. They negotiated that same day. I think we went back and forth twice, and then we agreed on the amount. And yeah, in a month I had my house.
Nice. What so you that's good. You say the timeline about a month, about 30 to 45 days is usually typical for going through the home buying process. If, like you say, the seller wants to sell it really quickly and you're ready to buy it quickly, it could even be less than 30 days sometimes. But
Well, the second one was less than 30 days. So, the second house, my parents had this house for years, and it was in Philadelphia on the street of my second house, which you helped me, very helpful with the mortgage. And I reached out to your husband to see if I could go make an offer on it, because my mom at the time, she was busy with her other job, so she couldn't be my agent. So I reached out to your husband, who's actually my cousin.
cousin, he's the one that
And
connected you to me.
yes, and he told me, hey, reach out to my fiance at the time. She can help you with the mortgage and all that, because I wasn't sure if I would get approved for a second mortgage due to the fact that I hadn't moved out of my first home.
Right.
So I saw the as an investment property, I've always wanted. Since I was younger, I saw real estate as a good investment place to have multiple properties, rent them out, get money from them, and I call it my safety net. So I'm not
Yeah.
gonna quit my daytime job, but I have a safety net where if I was to lose my job, I can afford my bills with my property, with my other property. It can cover majority of both of my mortgages and stuff like that. So for now, I'm not where I want to be. Obviously, I want to get more properties and keep investing, but slowly, I want to get more properties and keep renting them out. And eventually, well, not eventually, I started my own management property so that my
Oh,
properties pay me to um,
take care of
manage them, and it's also a great write off for taxes.
taxes. Yes. You know all the loopholes. This is fantastic. I think a lot of people are wondering, like, how do I get started being there? Like, how do I even get to the, because once you get the first house and then you can leverage that because it's an asset and it's valued at something, you can leverage it to get the next one, kind of like a snowball effect. But they're wondering, like, how do I even get the first one? So, how did you go about like saving enough money in the first place to even have
So
started?
I would say it takes discipline. So the year before I bought my house, I knew I wanted to. So I was 21 when I said I gotta start focusing in on what I want. And thank God I had both of my parents who showed a great example of like how to do it and all that. So I do have to say I have an advantage on the that being growing up around that environment and knowing like the value of it, knowing kind of like what it takes. So I always say, personally, when people ask me like, "Oh, how much do you need to buy a house?" All of that, I always say do a 10%. If you have a good credit, 10% of the value of the house. They say it's 6% to close, 6.5%. So depending on your credit, honestly, it does depend on my credit, but on your credit, on how good or bad you have it. But personally, knowing that there's FHA loans and all the different types of loan, I tell them to save up 10% of whatever value of the house you want, and then start looking for people who know about different types of mortgages. So don't just go with the first person that tells you, "Oh yeah, I'm a real estate agent. This is my broker." Da 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 da. Because there's a lot of real estate agents out there who don't know as much as they talk about what they know, and brokers who honestly, unlike you, because you were great, I've met brokers who are just in it for their self-interest.
Yeah,
So you have to look for people who want to help you or who are willing to take the extra mile and be like, "Oh look, there's this extra help out there that you can get $1,000 towards your closing," or there's a
that's
lot
right.
of
You got
first
like
time home
$1,200.
buyers. Yeah, and it adds up. Little
Yeah.
$1,000 here, $1,000 there. It starts to help you towards your goal. So don't just, oh, I'm gonna need 20K, 30K of whatever. It's outrageous numbers that I've heard that people think they need to close for houses.
Yes. Well, that's right.
So
If you put 10%, a $300,000 home, that's $30,000, 25, 26, $27,000 if they're thinking 10%, which it really does cost overall because you have a minimum 3% down payment. You have closing costs as well.
yes,
But
but people will be looking for homes that are worth 100K, and they're like, "Oh, I have to pay a 20% on this house." And I'm
yeah,
like, "No, you don't. Who told you that?" And
no.
there's a lot of misinformation out in social media now, of people, "Oh yeah, I can buy a house with zero down payment or something like that." And maybe some people have, but I haven't come across any of that. So
Only
um,
if you're a veteran or active duty military.
well, yes, the VA loan, but I'm
Yeah.
saying on an average person
Yeah.
that they they're like, "Oh yeah, if I buy a duplex, I don't need to put down a down payment because this and that." And I'm like, I would talk to some professionals who have actually personally done this, so you
Yes.
can have the information, the correct information. Because even for my first home, I talked to like 3 people. 2 of them told me I couldn't get a loan because I hadn't been at my job for 2 years, which was false. You need to
Right.
have a steady like you
History.
can't have a gap between your jobs. So you
Yep.
can switch jobs, you just can't have like a gap that's unexplainable between
Exactly.
your jobs. So some people don't even take the time to look at that. So um at the time where I started searching, I talked to 3 brokers for my first home. For this one, I just went directly to you. I told you, can I do this or can I not do
Yeah.
this? And you ran the numbers, and thank God it came out that I could do it. And then after, you also helped me with the HELOC, which is another tool that people, once you have your first property, is something that you can utilize to get multiple properties. So a HELOC is home equity line of credit,
Yep.
which essentially, since my house had gone up in value due to COVID and all of that, and people, the home being in such demand, I had more in.
The home was worth more than it was when you originally bought it in New
Yes,
Jersey.
so I had more equity.
Equity. Yeah.
So I had more equity than I originally had purchased it with, because I was paying and doing my monthly payments and all of that, and I was even paying extra on the principal so I can finish it quicker. So I thought I only had like maybe my 10K that I had paid and that's it. But turns out that when I went and did the home equity line, I had way more because the real estate property had gone up in value. I didn't even have
Yes.
to do anything, just pay my mortgage, and it had gone up. So I took a home equity line to fix the property that I'm in now. So it helped me to fix it. But
Yeah. So that's
honestly,
basically like a lump sum of cash you were able to
yeah,
get
it's
access to.
a loan based on what you've already paid.
Yeah.
So um, for me, it was very useful because even though I'm not bad at saving, I tend to save for a goal and get my goals in line. A lot of the time, people don't have 20K laying around, 10K
Yeah.
laying around, to, especially when you're paying your bills for your property already. Um, it's hard to put money aside to invest and continue. So this was a good tool for me to, okay, now that I have the property, let me fix it and all of that stuff. So people, there is different tactics to doing this. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna save up money to get it to whatever. It does take discipline. I won't say that you can just expect to spend your money and not have. You need money
Yeah.
saved. You need capital to start,
Yes.
but it's not hard. Like people make it seem like, oh, I'm gonna buy a house, I'm gonna have to sacrifice all of this. You just have to budget correctly and think of your goals, your long-term goals, and budget according to that. Like maybe you have to sacrifice going out to eat every weekend or something like that, or going out and spending $100 shopping or something, like, I don't know, however people live their life. But that $100 in a year, that you're not spending weekly, adds up very quickly. So
That's right.
personally, when I knew I wanted to buy the house and I knew I wanted to have something when I was like 21 ish, I started budgeting. I looked at my spendings and where a lot of my money was going to, which at the age of 21, it was going out and shopping. So
Yep.
I sacrificed a little bit, and okay, I'm not gonna go out maybe once a month. Instead of going out every weekend, I get to go out once a month. And then that $100 that I was, well, $400 because it was every weekend, turned into only $100 spending, and I got to save the $300 that I was already spending it. I wasn't seeing it, but it took discipline of being like, okay, I'm only gonna spend $100 a weekend. I mean, $100 a month instead of going every weekend. I only went one weekend a month, and slowly you $300 a month, and then you save here, you save there, and it starts to add up. And the extra money, instead of going shopping with it, I started being like, okay, let's save it, put it towards the house, like put it
Mhm.
towards the house,
Would
and
you set it on automatic, like transfer to a different savings account, or would you manually do it?
yes, yes. I had a savings where it was automatically $100 was taken out of weekly.
Mm.
But then anytime I was like, oh, I'm gonna go shopping, then I thought, well, I let me take that that money that I would spend shopping, maybe spend half of it or a quarter of it on what I needed and save the rest. So I will say it does take a little bit of discipline because I can't say I came from a wealthy family of here, have 20K, have 30K to buy your house, which is another thing that people can do. There's
Yes,
gifts that you can have.
you can
But
get a gift.
personally, my parents were hardworking people who, um, I mean, they provided me with a lot of knowledge. So in that way, I did get a lot of wealth, but they didn't just give me 20K towards my first house or anything like that. I had to slowly start saving towards that. So you set your goals and then you save towards what you want. And it is a sacrifice. I won't say that. But honestly, looking back, I don't feel like I missed out on anything. Like I still got to do what I wanted to do and meeting my goals. So
Love it.
um, a lot of discipline. Well, honestly, I wouldn't even say a lot. Some discipline and
It takes,
budgeting
yeah.
helped me towards my first goal. And then my second one, my second house was more or less, honestly, it was a surprise. I can't say because I did plan on buying a second property, just not so soon after I bought my first one.
Well, I
I
think
was,
that's something to be said about you were focused on the next job and you got a big in pay increase like at your next
yes,
job. So you're focused on getting a job that's going to give you back the income that you need and want while also still focusing on your larger picture vision of like, you don't want to work there forever. You don't want to work every day forever, but you have to do it now to get to what you want to get to in the future.
yes, and I will say um, like I'm a big believer of knowledge. So research what you want. You want a house? Research how to do it. Talk to people who have done it before. Um, talk to your parents, like, so you know what you're expecting when you get into a house, because that's a big thing. People just think, oh, I got this house, what do I do now? No, you want to grow that, you want to take that opportunity and make it count. So for example, personally, my parents taught me to pay on the principal at least twice.
Mm.
So sometimes your principal is nothing. It's like 100, and I think my principal is $300. So
Of your monthly payment
yes.
in
So
the
the
beginning. So
prince
you're paying a lot more interest than you are on the principal.
yes. So a lot of the times your notary will give you a breakdown of exactly where your monthly payments are going to. If not, you can look it up on your mortgage statements, and it shows you your interest, your taxes, your escrow, your principal. I believe that's the four. There's four or five of them.
Yep.
Insurance
Your
on the
escrow is
house,
escrow includes your property tax and your home insurance.
and I believe the other one's insurance.
Mhm.
Well, escrow includes all three of them, but um, it breaks it down and it tells you exactly where your money's going towards. So if you take a look at that, your principal, it's not as much as you think. It's typically, I know for my Philly house, it's around less than $300.
Mm.
So having the ability, if you do that extra money, even if it's $100, $50 a month, paying extra towards your principal, meaning you bring down the amount of years you're going to pay. So instead of 30 years, if you pay your principal an extra time a month, so you're automatically paying it once, you pay it an extra time, and then you're bringing it down from 30 years of paying that amount to 15 years of paying that amount, and
Yes.
so on and so on.
And you're also, when you do that extra payment, you don't pay interest
Yes.
on that money. You only pay directly to the balance of the loan to get it lower.
Correct. So for me in my first house, I had the flexibility to do that because I didn't get a loan of 300K or um,
You didn't
more.
max out your budget. You
Yes,
kept
I didn't max out what they told me. Oh, you're approved for this amount. No, I wanted this amount. This is what I want to pay monthly. This is what I believe I can pay comfortable that amount. And then on top of that, I am able to pay towards the principal. So I was able to pay the amount, pay the principal one times over, and then pay all of my bills comfortably. So a lot of the time people don't look at that. They just think, "Oh, they approved me for this amount. I'm going to get a house of however many whatever the value they tell you." Try to look at what your monthly payments is going to be, not
Mm,
what you can afford, quote unquote, because you might be able to afford, but God forbid something happen and you don't get as much payment. You have to think what your comfortable possibility is.
mm-hmm.
So um a lot of the times people like will see that big number and get the illusion of, oh, I'm going to spend it all, I'm going to have the biggest house and this and that. And honestly, do you need it? No. So get something that's comfortable, get something that's nice. Don't get me wrong, my house had 3 bedrooms and everyone used to ask me, why do you need 3 bedrooms? I'm like, I
Ah,
don't know.
I need some extra space here.
I'm like, I don't know, I wanted multiple closets, I'm sorry to tell you. But
Yes, I
over
love it.
time, it was a good price. I didn't get it because it was a big house or it was luxurious or anything like that. I got it because the price of the house was good and in my budget, and I liked how it looked. Um, I could afford a bigger house, but I didn't need a bigger house. I could have
Right,
gone with a smaller house, but honestly, it's about what you feel comfortable paying and being in. Because not because you want the big shiny house doesn't mean you want to pay for the big shiny house, because you're
right.
going to pay for it.
Yes,
So for me, and honestly, I feel like I've always seen houses as something that I can change. Like I don't need to be here forever. I don't need it to look that way forever. So some people go in with the mentality of like, oh, I need the kitchen to be done, I need the bathroom to be done, I need everything in top shape. And I always tell people those are just walls. You can change them, you can redo it however you want. If it's what's most important is the area, the community you're living in, and knowing like what's around you. Your community is very important, and people don't look at it nearly enough
mm,
because I hate Philly. I will say this with, but I knew the upside of living in Philadelphia is I have Center City where I love to go out to eat. I love restaurants. I love the experience of restaurants and all of that. And I'm closer to my job. So it's you have to weigh out what you want from your community.
mm-hmm.
So I knew that living in Philadelphia I had cheaper taxes than in Jersey. I was living close to my job, so I would spend less in gas and in tolls, and I have some fun things around me. But did it have good school district? No, I would not have kids in Philadelphia. Is there lack of parking? Yes, you have to take these things into consideration and what you personally want out of your community. Because there's some people that have kids, so you can't afford to go into a bad neighborhood just because you're saving in other areas because you have kids and
Yeah,
you want them to be in better school district. So honestly, your community is an important part of what you are looking for in a house, and I feel like people don't emphasize that enough when searching for a house. If you don't take a look at the geographics, what's around you, what you have, what you don't have, personally make a list. So
yeah.
for my friend who recently bought a house, I told her, well, she's searching and she finally found the house she wanted. But I believe a lot in duplexes.
Mm,
I didn't get it for my first house, but it was because I learned after the fact.
yeah,
But that's a great way of covering your own mortgage without having to pay for it. So a duplex, you rent out the one side or whatever, and then the other side you live in it. So you have this property that's already automatically giving you this benefit. So personally, that's the next house I'm investing in.
Yes.
I'm done with single property homes, and I learned the hard way that it's harder to turn it into a duplex than to buy it into a duplex.
Yeah.
Um, so
But it can be fine. It can be hard to find the duplex in the
yes,
right
it
place,
is.
right area, the right price point.
It is. So I will say personally, a good agent makes all the difference. Because if you don't have someone on your side that wants what you want for you, or that understands this is what I want for myself, and they can help you with it, it's hard.
Yeah.
Thank God I have my mom where I would just ask her, but not everyone has that. My first real estate agent, and I'm not talking shit on her because God bless her wherever she is, I had to fight her on the decisions for that I was making for myself. And for me, I know more than I let on to people. Like, I
Mm.
don't feel the need to tell you all that I know. Unless you ask me, then I'll share my information with you. But pretty much she knew the basic about me, my age, my ethnicity, and all of that. She didn't know that I came from parents who had done this for years, and I've seen a lot of different things. And I told her, I want to put in an offer for this amount. She's like, oh no, but the asking price is this. You should go up closer to what they're asking. Da, 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 da. And I was like, are you telling me to pay more money for a
Right.
house? So I told her, I was like, listen, this house has been on the market for 3 months. I can tell, you can tell when things were listed. I can tell that this was listed for 3 months. This was listed by an LLC, meaning that this was a flipping company that did this. They want their money back already. Like, when you flip a house, they're not gonna wait as long as a person. I was like, if we ask and start lower, we can negotiate with them. We can go back and forth and tell them, okay, and then come to a middle ground. If I start higher, that means I'm closer to what they want. So I'm literally giving them money. So why would I not start at this point? And if they consider it, they're going to counteroffer me. They're not going to say no or anything like that. They
Right.
want to negotiate. That's what they're on the market for. So unless, what's the worst they can say? No, and then I don't have the house. Okay. But if we can ask, they can say no. This is the asking price, and then I have to respect that. But if I already seen it for a while on the market, I know this is something they want to get into process. They're still going to profit because any flip, with they have a certain margin of win and loss. So
Yep.
therefore, I'm just decreasing the win and loss so I don't have to pay as much.
Yeah.
So, but she argued with me about what my offer should be, and I was like, "You're my real estate agent. Like,
They're supposed to
you're
work for you.
yeah, you're supposed to be helping me, like convincing me or guiding me in the correct way of doing this. Like, I shouldn't have to debate with you or educate you on how to do this. Like,
Right.
and honestly, made the process go a lot bumpier than it needed to be, because I was on her to do her job.
Yeah.
And um simple things that I knew, like the inspection, the different things, I would have to question her, like, hey, have you done this, have you done that? And it made it a lot harder. My second
Oh,
one, he handled it really well. I will say I didn't have to do anything. I just was providing the information, and that was it. But my first house, being a first time home buyer, not having a good team made it way harder.
yes. So definitely do your research and don't feel like you have to go with the first option necessarily out there for people. So, and especially they don't even have if they don't have a family member or a parent or someone involved in the process, they're starting just from scratch. Talk to a couple people and grab a coffee with them or see, get the vibes and see, make sure you're going to want to be working with them for a full multiple months at a time.
And not only that, a lot of the times now, it's a lot of people get their license. Like a lot of people have their real estate license, but they are not good real estate agents. There's a difference between taking the test and having the knowledge to take a test and being able to be a real estate agent, like, or be a good real estate agent. Because um, I've met a lot of people. As you know, my family has done this for a long time now. My dad did construction. He used to flip houses before the market went this crazy. My mom was an agent. She became an agent because she had to deal with people who didn't have her back, who just were in it for the money. So sadly, she had to deal with more people who essentially screwed her over and had to pay thousands of dollars more because they didn't have her back. Because even though you don't see it as like, oh, this is just an agent and whatever, no, if they don't have your back and fight for you, this adds up a couple thousands to your end cause. So at that, personally, I would have had to pay maybe $10,000 more for my house because my agent didn't want to negotiate. So some
Yep.
people don't see it, but if you don't have someone that has your best interest at hand and wants to get a good deal for you,
Yeah.
you're going to lose money. Like,
So always follow your gut instinct. Always go to your friends and family and other resources that you have to just check in and say, like, "Hey, does this seem right to you, or what am I thinking the right thing here?" Like, get a second opinion. Don't just go follow blindly
yes,
what everyone
don't
tells.
follow blindly what someone tells. And honestly, there's a lot of information out there. I
Yeah,
mean, you can even hit me up.
exactly, exactly.
I don't mind helping and guiding. Like honestly, you honestly made an impact on me because you went the extra mile and told me like, "Hey, do this extra I think it was like a help that they were giving out so you can
Yeah,
get money towards your closing costs. Hey, have you checked this out? Hey, I think you're missing this part." Like that extra mile means a lot. And if you're someone that is just in it for the dollar signs, it also means a lot of dollar signs. So if you have good team behind you and know, then go with them. And also um communicate with people who are not only in your circle but expand your circle to people who you might not even know. Like for you,
yeah,
I had never met you before. I
right.
had I've seen you in pictures and all that, but I didn't know much about you. So I talked to you, and even now you refer someone of trustworthy because you are trustworthy. So I will take your word more than just anyone off of the street because personally, like I don't just trust anyone, let alone with my money. Like that takes a lot. So if I can find someone who I trust and has a good um, knowledge and my best interest, I'm gonna go with them, and I will recommend them to other people, and that's how you build your portfolio essentially. Like um, I have the benefit of being in this world since I was little, so I have a little bit of an advantage, but even then, like I have people who look at me and are like, "Oh, this little girl, she doesn't know anything. Uh, she's not," and they are very surprised 90% of the time. They
Yes,
start telling me a lot of things, and I'm like, "Nope, we're gonna do this way. This is the way that I want it done, and that's it." And honestly, that's partly why I wanted my to start my own managing company, not just for the tax breaks, but because a lot of people will ask me, "Hey, do you know someone good for this?" or "Hey, do you know someone that's good for this?" Um, construction. A lot of the times, a lot of people cut corners to get to
mm,
things done quicker. Um,
that's right.
I, I just don't believe that that's the right way. You need a good foundation in order to build something. So your foundation, your team, your knowledge is very important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, this is great. We're gonna have to do a part two, maybe. a part two as you continue to expand and buy more real estate. And, we'll check in with you every couple of years, maybe see where you're at. Because you'll definitely be sharing.
Hopefully. I mean, I'm thinking of going back to Jersey. I don't really like Philly as a
Okay.
interest place. I mean, as a investment.
Yeah.
Philly, oh, Philly is going. It's too saturated. I will say
Yeah.
a lot of people, and it's making it more difficult for people who want to do it for the right reasons. People who are just starting in the game is harder because you have bigger companies who are just taking over and
Right. It's
property.
hard to break in as an individual.
Yes.
Harder to break in as an individual.
So, but yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I think we'll have a lot of follow-up from people here. So we'll make sure to get everyone's questions answered. And if anyone wants to connect with Osuany afterwards, feel free. She'll be tagged. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you. And shout out to you and my cousin, Ray. You guys are a
Yes.
great team. Honestly helped me a lot. So
Awesome. It was a pleasure. All right. Well, thank you so much again. Have a great night, everyone. And